online and available to our YouTube viewers as well. Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see our guest has joined us as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. For those of you that are new to this particular platform, my name is Tiffany. I am a social worker by trade. Um, I just been in the business in the industry for a very, very long time. And in doing so, I wanted to be able to give more of myself, be able to give more of my insight, more of my awareness to individuals, to the community, to people that I work with, to my peers about topics that we are already discussing, things that I feel need a larger platform. And that's why this particular platform, Tiff Talks, was created. So we talk everything from breaking generational curse to mental health, wellness, to now our empowerment series, to bullying in school, to gun violence, to everything that we're already talking about just on a larger scale. And this talk time for me is going to be an awesome one. We have been discussing empowerment for about the last 2 months, maybe a little bit more. Well, since August actually. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, when I originally looked at this empowerment series and the topics that we will be gonna be discussing, I actually sought out our top guest like in the summertime because I knew that I wanted her on, and I knew that the conversation that she and I had was gonna be vibrant. So I've been waiting for this day. I've been preparing for this day. My show notes have been dated back to the summertime. And I am really looking forward to this conversation. This series overall has just been amazing for not just myself, but for so many people that have reached out to me, who have shared their experience, who've shared their insight, who, have wanted to be a part of the conversation, who've kept the conversation going. And we've discussed pretty much a full spectrum, from starting off with talking about purpose, to talking about vulnerability, to talking about alignment, to also talking about collateral beauty, and even with last week episode in discussing the Black man's experience as it relates to empowerment, all just leading up to today, which is episode 7 of this series, which is the Black woman experience as it relates to empowerment. So I am looking forward to today, and I'm sure it's going to be awesome. I'm sure we're going to have a great conversation, and I am going to hand over the platform to my guest so that she will have the opportunity to introduce herself and include her name, the city that she's from, and some information, not the full meal, but just a little appetizer of her experience as it relates to empowerment.
Hi guys, like the influencers say. My name is Bliss Thornton, um, and I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm so excited to be here. Um, Thinking about my experiences as a whole with empowerment, it dates back to when I first started working at the Houston Area Women's Center. It's a domestic violence and sexual assault agency. And so, there, although we discussed and, it was aimed towards those who have been um, abused sexually, physically, but we did get down to nitty gritty on, what does that look like, even just like with society as a whole, like social norms as men, as women, what are we said that, what did society say that we're supposed to do because I'm a woman or, he's a man. So I'm excited to start this conversation. And let me say this before we get started. In my current job, I am a program manager for Harris County Guardianship Program. But the crazy thing about it is that the only reason why I work at Harris County Guardianship Program is because Tiffany got me an interview, right? And this was almost 7 years ago. Almost 7 years ago. So because of you, and so, if she talks about knowing my path, career wise, and, my highs and lows and things like that, is because for about 2, 3 years, she was there with me. So thank you, Tiffany.
Of
Thank you.
course, of course. And we will talk about, I have that in my notes about your highs and your accomplishments and the road that it took to get there. So that is why I sought you out, because I knew this was gonna be a big discussion. I knew it was. So when we talk about just the significance of this particular topic as it relates to empowerment for the Black woman, for me, I just immediately kind of went to how we as women are seen as these hidden figures of the world. And even just looking at or going back to the movie Hidden Figures, we are this amazing, mighty, strong, powerful force to be reckoned with. But even in doing so, we have to fight to make sure that our presence is known, that our worth is known, and that we are valued as we are. The strength of a Black woman, as I'm concerned, is unparalleled. Like, is none like the strength of a Black woman. And in doing that, I understand, like, even in this particular time, when we think about this weekend, all of the women's marches on yesterday, still on the high from the vice president debate where we had our very first, and I'm speaking it into existence, Madam Vice President, showcase. For me, it's no better time than now to talk about empowerment amongst ourselves. And as you mentioned, not just for those that quote unquote need to be empowered, but across the board, because we could all use a little bit more. Whether we take that as a good thing or as a bad thing, we could all use a little bit more empowerment. And I believe this platform is going to set the stage for a conversation that needs to continue on empowering each other. When we really kind of start out this conversation, I think I'm big on just addressing the elephant in the room, and being that we are these hidden figures, I wanted to start off the conversation with talking about vulnerabilities. And really, what are the vulnerabilities that we see within our culture as Black women that we may struggle with, but also those vulnerabilities that transcend to empowerment amongst ourselves.
So when I think about vulnerabilities, the first one that really comes to my mind is socially.
Mm,
Um, Unfortunately, and this is just how the ranking kind of is. You
mhm,
have middle-aged white males here. You have African American males here. You
mhm,
have gay males here, and
mm,
then you have white females, and then you have Black women at the bottom. And
mm,
so, just socially, that is one of the vulnerabilities that we all have. I think with the marches, um, with the fight, with feminism and the feminist fight and doing the work on a daily basis, I think that is how we are able to transcend, those social vulnerabilities into empowerment,
yeah.
into empowerment. I never forget the first time I seen Gloria
Mhm,
Steinem speak at a conference that I went to.
mhm,
It was so empowering,
yeah.
so empowering,
Mm,
so empowering. And it's just, and her last thing that she said was, keep fighting the fight,
yeah.
keep fighting the fight.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, when it comes down to the social norms and what we see, we as Black women are always seen as just being fragile. And the complicity that goes along with that is what I see as a strength, but society doesn't necessarily see that. I mean, as a woman, I'm up before the sun. I'm down well after the sun. And even given the same 24 hours that the next person may have been given, I see myself getting more accomplished in that 24 hours than most. And that comes from the complicity of my day. That comes from the strength that I have just as a Black woman. And for me, that's what I saw. So that's what I did. I saw my mama do these things. I saw my aunt do these things. I saw women around me do these things. So that was what my norm was and what I created as a norm for myself. But even in that, there's always this. perception that we have to fight against. Like you said, when we go out into the real world, this hierarchy, this ranking that we have to fight against. And even with fighting against it, we as black women are always put into this box of perceptions, of who we are or who we perceive
Mm-hmm.
to be, and not necessarily what we are. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel if we were given the opportunity to put the complex us more on display and not be judged for that, then people would see the true strength of that.
Yeah.
Um, for me, one of the biggest vulnerabilities that I feel we as women face is this angry black woman perception. And that's hard for me. That is so
You
hard
and I both. It's
that
hard for me too.
I believe it can be turned on and it can be turned off, but I also believe that I should be, and I'm okay with being a proud black woman. I'm okay with being untamed. I'm okay with being unapologetic about myself. And my question for you is, what is your take on the perception of the angry black woman?
Honestly, I hate that
Mm,
phrase. I hate the phrase. Like you said, in our culture, you know, we're supposed to be strong. We're supposed to be able to run a household, be a good parent, be a good wife,
mhm,
you know, go to work every day
mhm.
and carry all this stuff on our backs and our shoulders and move along with no issues.
Yeah.
I think that, when it comes to an angry black woman, I always say, well, what happened for her to get there to become an angry black woman?
Yeah.
Um, I was watching on Instagram Sterling Brown, the actor on
Mhm.
This Is Us, and he was in tears when he was talking about this, and he was saying that when he goes into a meeting
Mhm.
or like a table read for something, and if he goes against the grain or speaks out, then he's angry, right?
Mm.
If his counterpart, who just happens to be Caucasian, a Caucasian male, speaks out and go against the grain, then he's passionate. And
Mm.
that's how I feel, when, because, honestly, women, we're supposed to take it
Yeah.
and move along. We don't, why would you speak your mind, or you shouldn't speak your mind. That's just, that's what it is. And then, especially for African American women, do what we're told and pretty much be quiet. And
Yeah.
so I feel like, I've seen it happen in the workplace, where if I say something, then I am sassy.
Mm.
I'm angry. And it's not that I'm angry, I'm just passionate about what I said.
Yeah.
Now, and the crazy part is, it doesn't matter how professionally you state it,
Mm.
it's still going to be taken as you're being angry. Why? Because you are African American, you are a female,
Yeah.
and you are going against the grain. Thinking about the debate with Kamala Harris,
Mhm. Mhm.
she kept her composure
Yeah, she
the
did.
entire time.
She did.
I went on social media after the debate, and the first comment I seen under a post that was kind of like a short video of it was, she's so angry. She's showing that angry black woman. And I'm like, she didn't, because she didn't want to be spoken over. That she said, I'm speaking, because when her tone was low, she kept being overspoken.
Yeah.
So she said a little bit louder, and she said it again.
Yeah.
And that goes with that, us being down here, because for him it's like, the look on his face was like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
did you tell me that you speaking, so I'm supposed to be quiet?
Mhm.
And so I really think that even for that angry black woman, that term, that phrase to go away, it starts like way at the top. We're not even there yet. That's a whole different conversation.
I agree. I completely agree. And for me, I take it on and I own it. And I
Yeah.
don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I own it in every walk of my own personal life. I can remember and thinking back about it, I guess I should have been angry about it, but I necessarily wasn't. I'm a very vocal person. And that's in every walk of my life. So if I'm in a meeting with the president of the hospital, if I have something to say, I am going to say it. And I'm going to say it with as much poised as I possibly can at that time. And I can remember being in a meeting of my peers and my director presenting something to us that I was not on board with. And because I'm passionate, I had something to say. And I said it. And in that meeting, there was no feedback from me. But after the fact, one of my colleagues, who was also a minority woman, came to her and was like, Tiffany is, she should be mindful of the things that she say, things like that. And it was like, huh? So of course my director, she came to me and asked me about it. And she's also a Black woman. And she was like, you know what, Tiffany, you should just be very mindful of what you say and how you say it. And at that point, I had to tell her from my perspective why I was so passionate about those things or passionate about this issue. Because in so many times, even amongst ourselves, it's like, oh well, sister girl angry. Oh, sister girl, we put that judgment and that perception up on ourselves in our own peer group, in our own circle. And it's
Yeah.
sad, but that's just the reality of it. And I
Yeah.
feel if we as women will look past that or give each other grace amongst each other, then maybe it would be better received amongst that hierarchy. Because if we doing it to each other, why can't we expect the other person to do it?
I definitely agree with that. That's why even in relationships with my friends and stuff, get to be a positive Patty every single day, all day. It's just unrealistic.
It is.
Like you can't. But I do try to be intentional.
Yeah.
Um, when it comes to empowering others, I
Yeah.
do try to be intentional when it comes to uplifting
Yeah.
others, you know, on a daily basis. So
I
I
can.
totally agree with you. And I think we had that. I think we talked about that
Yes.
situation.
Yes, we have. We have. Now, I do understand when it comes to this unapologetically Black, there is points and times where we have to turn it on and turn it off. There are times when we have to, switch it up and be a bit more poised or a bit more tamed, because it's necessary in the corporate world. It's necessary when you go out for an interview. It's necessary to be able to, tone it down. But even in doing that, I think we should always remain authentic. My proud Black woman is me authentically. So I need to be able to put that on display every day in every way. And that for me is my Black girl magic. So I remember going through a period of time after having that conversation with my director. I was like, Lord, you know me, just stop letting this letter E work so I don't have to send no more emails, because I knew what was going to come out in my emails. But I needed to be able to step back and be less vocal in order to um do what's right for the greater good, if that makes sense. And for me, my question for you is, have you ever been at a point in your life, or have you ever experienced a time where your unapologetic you was challenged? And how did you take that as a learning experience to be able to present and show empowerment?
So when I worked at a child placement agency, um, the director of the Houston office was a male,
Hmm.
a Caucasian male, with a team full of minority women.
Wow.
All the case managers, we were minority women, we were all women. And when I first started, they used to say, you have to watch Robert because, he will try to throw you under the bus, like when the founders or the board will call asking different questions, or like, the CEO and stuff trying to figure out, why is this happening or that happening. And just one day I was in the office, right in the back. He I was still there. And his door was open. And he's on the phone with the CEO. And I hear him say, yes, because, the girls, they submit their paperwork very late to me. They never get it in on time. And I mean, just throwing us under the bus. And he even said my name.
Mm-mm.
So on that particular day, he had the right one on the wrong day.
Lord have mercy.
And like you said, I tried to be very professional because when I had to knock on that door, hey, Robert, on my way out, I said, I overheard your conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, I don't appreciate you throwing me under the bus. But what he didn't know about Bliss, Bliss keep record of everything that she does.
Yeah.
And I did call the CEO and I talked to the founders about it because it's not fair.
Yeah.
And if I would not have done anything, that means that the women coming after me, after I'm long gone from the agency, they have to deal with the same thing.
Right.
No, no. And so by me stepping up and saying something, then the other women also felt comfortable about saying something as well, because I did go to them and we had a conversation about it.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
no, I was very unapologetic about it. And I
Wow.
mean, it was probably a few neck rolls, how I can get my eyes already big. So, but yeah.
Wow. I don't think I'm surprised about your response at all.
No.
Um, I think for me, when it comes down to being in a position where I've been challenged and having to change that experience to whether it be empower myself or even like you empower the people around you, um, I think about how so often people feel, especially in the corporate world, that Black women are, disposable. And for me, I learned my worth early on in my career. And I think in my current job placement, I've enriched that worth. So because of that, I'm a bit more unapologetic about how I present my worth. And for me, one thing that recently happened was I'm pretty honest with my director. I went to her and I was explaining, I'm looking for something else. I don't feel challenged where I am. I can do my job in my sleep. And it wasn't as if, I'm being cocky or putting, myself on display or anything like that. It was, I've reached a glass ceiling here, and I want you to know as a woman that I'm coming and I'm saying that I want more and I'm seeking out more.
Yeah.
Um, because I don't want you to feel that I'm disposable, and I know that I'm not disposable. So let me let you know what I'm feeling so we can come, to um come to a median. And in doing that, it really kind of separated me from the pack and
Mm-hmm.
my peer group at work. But in
Mm-hmm.
separating me from the pack, I feel that it also put me in a position where I am able to showcase what work and what worth we as social workers do. I mean, in a hospital setting, it's crazy. They think you're supposed to just, discharge people all day. They don't think I'm dealing with, the troubles of the next person. They think
Yeah.
some think I'm a miracle worker and I can make black sand out of white sand. I mean, it's real. But being unapologetic and coming to her and saying, these are the things that I want for myself. These are the things that I see within my department that we can do better, has put me in a place where I can be able to empower the people that I work alongside.
Yeah.
And being able to empower the people that I work alongside, like you said, it just makes it better for the next man, whether they take it as that or not.
Yeah. I before I became a program manager, one thing that myself and some of the other supervisors struggled with was um, some of us are more vocal in meetings than others, and so when you find yourself being the only one that's always talking, it can become a bit exhausting.
Yeah.
But you can't be quiet. You can't. You can't. You can't. You can't.
Because then if you get to the point where you're quiet, then I feel like you're not being true to yourself.
I agree with that. You know what I don't like, Tiffany? I don't like the fact that before you are able, especially in the workplace, and not even in the workplace, before you're able to say really how you feel, Like I said, even if you're doing it in the most respectful way, you always, as Black women, we have to give like this first softened side first, then say what it is that we're feeling, like give this buffer and then say, and I'm feeling like, so I find, at work, I am still vocal. I am. Um, and I never forget, I had a conversation with my supervisor, and I find myself having to say, I'm not trying to be insubordinate. Mm-hmm. However, this is how I feel. This is what I think. And I hate the fact that I always have to say that, or I have to say, I'm not trying to go against the grain, or, you have to justify, that I'm not in here trying to be an angry Black woman. I'm just stating to you, what I observe, and what the people under me are saying, and also my counterparts, what they're saying as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like that. And we find ourselves a lot having to justify or give that buffer first before we can state really how we feel.
Right. I agree with that. I completely agree with that. To kind of go back to what we initially discussed about the social norms, I feel a lot of times because of these roles and influences that we see among social norms, we get into this place where a lot of those, what's the word for it? Like those things are taken on or put up on us. And I feel like because you may have seen what you've seen on TV, you may have seen what you've seen on Ratchet TV of what your depiction of the angry Black woman is, or what your depiction of, a facial expression, or the way a person responded to an email, or the way that someone responded to just an encounter, that's put up on us, and we're put in a position where we have to take on these social determinants. So for me, if you don't mind, if you would share with us, what determinants do you feel have influenced those social norms?
Um, Going back to the Houston Women's Center, actually going back to when I was younger, um, and even now, just thinking about stuff and thinking about social norms, and like when we first started seeing, this is what the social norm is for women. This is what it is for men. Think about toys and advertisement. When there were Legos or G.I. Joe toys on TV, they didn't have a little girl on there with, playing with the toys. They had little boys. So off the back, it's like, well, these are not for girls. These toys are for boys. And so you learn those social norms way in the beginning, when you're adolescents and, in your childhood and stuff. So even going that far back, and then when I worked at the Women's Center and us getting down, like I said, to the nitty gritty about what contributes to a perpetrator perpetrating and all those types of things, and like those social norms do. Society, like I always say, is the biggest influence that kids will ever have. It is very difficult for parents, and I don't have a child, but I see with children and the parents around me, to try to teach your child what's right.
Yeah.
Lead them, instill different beliefs and morals in them, and lead them on, an awesome, great path. But then you're fighting against society.
It's true.
For example, you fight against Ratchet TV.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very sad, but it's very true. And I think for me as a parent, one thing that my husband and I always say is like we can say what it is in our household. We can set the norm, we can set the culture of what it is in our household, but I'm still, like you said, I'm competing with what her friends are talking about at school. I'm competing with what's on social media. I'm competing with the discussion over the lunch table. I'm competing with what her friends are dealing with in their own homes and bringing back to the school. So for me, when it comes down to the biggest social norm that I attempt to come back, is being able to have representation, and also be able to back that representation up with education. Um, and that's really why a lot of my work in social work has been what it is being able to put it out there. A lot of times people we're at a point where if we don't see it, then we don't believe it. So
Yeah.
if I can make a social norm within my household of this is what it is, this is what
Yeah.
it's be like, and you're seeing this on a daily basis, and I'm reminding you of those things when you do walk outside, you can challenge that ratchet TV.
Yeah. You
Challenge every
can.
jumping over a table because you ain't never seen your mama jump over,
Mama jump over a table.
and
Yep.
you know that as a woman, as a girl, that you ain't supposed to be on the top of the table.
Yeah.
So for me, I think when it comes down to the biggest thing that I want to come back is being able to show representation. I love seeing
Yeah.
Black women, not just women, but Black women in so many walks of life. My boys are big into NASCAR. They're big into cars. But to be able to see a Black woman on the
Yeah.
NASCAR team, for them, it's like, Mama, you can do that. Yeah, I can do that. I can go buy a NASCAR team if I want to, and I can put that
Exactly.
in their mind to see and to show that, it's not
Yeah.
a male dominated, field, that I have a ranking in this way as well,
Yeah.
being able to show in things where it comes to politics. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, being able to see our Madam Vice President up front, in the face front, unapologetic, facial expressions at all,
Frictions. Yeah.
I'm speaking and standing up for herself. For me, today it may be Madam Vice President Harris, but tomorrow it may be Madam Vice President Brown, So being able to showcase those things for me, that's what I, as the Black woman, want to put on the forefront and want people to see so that they too are empowered.
Yeah. Growing up, um, one thing my mom did with my sister and I is she always, okay, so for vast majority of me being here, she was a single parent.
Mm,
Even when her and my dad were married and in the same household and everything with us, my dad worked offshore, so she was
mhm,
still pretty much a single parent.
right.
And I remember even from like my younger, like the youngest years, I can remember like maybe kindergarten or so. I guess when I'm, started to really understand, she has always, told me and my sister, like, y'all can be what y'all want to be. You don't have to really depend on anyone.
Yeah.
You can do whatever it is that you want to do. Like she empowered us at such a young age, and I really don't like the fact that when women empower their little girls, when they have little girls, that when girls grow up and they are independent, it's now shown upon to be independent.
Mhm.
It's like she's so independent, that's why she can't get a man. And it's like, no, that's not what she means by her being independent and can take care of herself.
Yeah.
She would love for a man to come in and take care of her. Okay, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, but just know that if no man is there, that she's able to do it. And I am so here for it.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm like Issa Rae. I root for every Black woman. Not everybody
Yeah.
Black. I'm rooting for them too, but I'm definitely rooting for the Black women.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, because honestly speaking, sometimes it's like if you do, damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Yeah.
Then if women were out here really being trifling and not taking care of themselves and not taking care of their children, then that's a whole issue. But when they are doing that and being above and beyond, and being an entrepreneur with working their full-time job, taking care of their household,
Yeah.
taking care of their children and stuff, like but I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
but
I,
I
I
just
I agree. I completely agree. And I have that same experience. Like as a child, I can remember my mom and my aunts empowering each other in different entities of their life. Like it's easy to recall them empowering each other socially because I can recall, them all getting together at my aunt Shirley house on a Saturday, and they taking the time to uplift each other by, doing each other hair and having these girl
yep.
talk, going to brunch and stuff like that, just being present for one another.
Mm-hmm.
But even when it goes back to wealth, I can recall my aunt being the first person in our family to own her own home. And by owning her own home, that put my mom, my other aunts in a position where they wanted to seek those things out. And I think out of five of them, maybe two of them were married. or had like an active partner or whatever in their life. So when they went after this wealth, when they went after owning their own home, they did it because they saw my Aunt Shirley, who was a single woman, no children, do it for herself.
Yeah.
And even as a child, I can remember like when we graduated from high school, my Aunt Shirley, she didn't give us money, she didn't give us cards, she gave us stock, and she managed that stock for us. And still to this day, to be able to now say that, oh, I'm a stockholder and my children are a stockholder, and pretty much everybody in our family is a stockholder, it started because my Aunt Shirley was the one that was like, this is how I'm going to empower my family, this is how I'm going to teach them about wealth and how we can build wealth, amongst ourselves, and not have to depend on
Yeah.
somebody else to hand it to us.
Yeah. I really like that. I really, really, really like that. It reminds me of like on social media, where you do have influencers and entrepreneurs and stuff. Like a lot of times when I see them come across my timeline, especially those who I follow, but I don't have no personal relationship with them, I always send the messages because you just don't know who you're empowering just
Yeah,
because someone is not saying you are very empowering, to me, or I see you empowering other people.
right.
Just know that you are and keep it up.
Yeah. A lot of people, especially when it comes to social media, I don't think they know their impact.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
if we would hold true to our impact on a daily basis, then I feel that we will truly empower each other.
Yeah.
But it's just my take. So my next question for you is, what measure of empowerment have you witnessed being modeled either as a child or even as a family? And you kind of touched on it a little bit. So if you want to expand on that, that would be great.
Yeah. Like in the household, like I said before, even now as an adult, you empower me on a daily, Tiffany. I have other friends and family members who do the same thing. Um, and when I see that it is, you know, reciprocated from myself to others, and back and forth, it's such a great thing. Like, growing up now, even just remember when I was smaller, and seeing my mom and her, speaking, I like to call it speaking into my sister and I, she spoke into us, she spoke great things into us.
Mhm.
Um, and the thing that I loved about that is that even at that age, and at that vulnerable age, she didn't allow others to
Yeah,
speak into us.
that's
You
good.
know, we were in her house, so she spoke into us.
Right.
So at a very young age, and I even now, with my current job, of course, my supervisor, she empowers me all the time to go for stuff. She's the reason why I um, even applied to be a program manager.
That's
You
good.
know, she's the reason why I wrote a paper to be in a leadership essentials class for our agency. Just I just sit on a daily basis.
That's good. And I feel when we have those experiences, those are the things that really shape our moral compass.
Yeah,
Like you said, when you receive those things, it's even easier for you to reciprocate and give those things out. And I feel that being able to put those things into practice on a daily basis puts us in a position where we can change those social norms and
yeah,
create even more rich or enriched cultural norms.
culture. Yeah,
And for me, a lot of the things that I have experienced in my work environment, in my peer group, and I bring up my peer group because I love them. Like, we may not talk every day. We check on each other throughout the day, some more than others. But
yeah,
even in that, they truly shape my identity, the identity that I want for myself, the identity that I practice,
yeah.
what I display and what I model within my home. And that's because I want to be able to reciprocate what they have given to me.
I
Um,
agree. I think that you have to be. I'm sorry.
I know it's okay.
I think that when you, like you say, your peer group, your friend circle, whatever it is, I think that at this age, I'm not friends with people just because I want some friends.
Yeah.
And that's just the gist of it. You
Yeah.
know, I have a lot of associates, but those who I call friends, they are near and dear to my heart, like what you just said. And I feel that at this age, you have to give something in those relationships, and you should be getting something out of those relationships.
True. That's true.
You know, I just don't want no drinking buddy. I don't
Yeah.
want a partying buddy. You
Yeah.
know, I want someone who speaks life into me and I'm able to speak life into them. You know, I want someone to hold me accountable as I hold them accountable, you know, because that is what's empowering. You know what I mean? When
Yeah.
you're able to share even a disagreement
Mm-hmm.
between you and a friend, when you're able to share and talk through about, you know, what you didn't like that the other person did, what you would need from that person to move forward, that opens up now the door for you when you're out and about, no matter if that's career wise or in other relationships, for you to have that, to be able to now speak up.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. I'm at a point in my life where I need those around me to add value. You
Yes.
I know my worth. I have my worth. But everyone that plays a role in my life, they add value to my life in one
Yes.
way or the other. And I add value to theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So I like I said, I feel that those are the things and these are the experiences that empower me and really kind of correlate with my identity. Um so I do have one last question for you before we kind of get down to the testament of today. And that is, what, if you don't mind sharing, has been a moment in your life that you felt the most empowered? And how did you share that empowering experience with others?
Um, so with this new role, I've been in it for only 3 months, and I find myself, you know, asking, am I doing enough? You know, it's different when you supervise like those who are doing the work, the hands-on. But now that I'm supervising supervisors, you know, the further up that I move, the more removed I am from the hands-on work.
Mm,
Um, I'm hands-on, but not like what I used to be. And so I find myself often thinking like, I don't know if I'm doing enough, to where sometimes I think I worry the heck out of my team. I bet they'd be like, if she called me one more time trying to see if I'm okay, if I need something, I'm scream. But Boss's Day was Friday, and my team does something for me Thursday. I was doing a training for our doing onboarding training for our some of our new case managers. And when I walked in, I sat down, they were right behind me and I didn't see them. So they came in, they was like, Happy Boss's Day, you know. And so I individually text each one of them to thank them and kind of tell them, you know, how much I appreciate them.
yeah.
I'm not gonna cry. Okay.
Oh,
But one of them texts me back
oh.
because as when I was a supervisor, sometimes I didn't feel heard.
Mhm.
I felt like I was not advocated for.
Yeah.
And I felt like if I spoke up, I get shut down. And that was honestly what was happening.
Wow.
So when she texts me back, and I'm just gonna read a little bit of what she said. And she said, Thank you. And the U was really long with some exclamation marks. She was like, Thank you for being such a great boss. Your assistance, your understanding, and your advocacy are greatly appreciated.
Mm,
You are truly loved. And that right there, Tiffany, was so empowering for me.
mhm.
And she don't even know that, because that just validated that I am doing what
Yeah.
I need to be doing and what I should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was probably my most thus far,
That's
thus far, thus
that's
far.
well, I hope to be able to have taken on this new role in my career to be as awesome as a leader as you are. Like, I'm not big on the word boss, but now being
Yeah.
a part of the stepping a position and being a part of the leadership team, I look forward to being able to continue to advocate, especially when it's different when you start from the bottom and you move up. Um and it is different in that what the people at the quote unquote bottom go through. You know what it's like to not be heard. You know what it's like to feel overworked and underpaid. You know what
Yes.
it's like to be given task after task after task after task and not being appreciated. So I really look forward to times like that. And I'm gonna be calling on you because I know I'm gonna have some issues that I would need to work through. I think for me, the part of the entity of my life that I felt most empowered in has been this platform and being able to solidify this platform. Like, it was one thing when I came to my best friend, it was like, I feel like, we can kind of do a podcast. And she was like, you mean like a podcast, like, on the routine basis? And I was like, yeah, I think we can do it. But now at the point where I'm almost 3 years in and it's official and I'm LLC, then with having this new responsibility that comes along with solidifying this platform, I feel the most empowered when I'm sitting here or when I'm talking with my guests, when I'm working on show topics, when I'm reading comments of people who have just tuned in for an episode or have been along for the ride and have enjoyed the presentation, who have come back and said, I didn't think about what generational curse was. I didn't even know what generational curse was until you presented it the way that you presented it. So for me, I've always felt most empowered sitting here, and my intent is to be able to continue to empower my audience, to be able to empower my community, to be able to empower my peer group and my family and my friends. I didn't start this to like get rich or be a blogger or anything like that. I plan on keeping my full-time job and my insurance and not because the Lord will say the same. But if he puts me in a position where this, will skyrocket, then I look forward to it because I feel it just expands my platform. So I thank you and I
You're
appreciate
so welcome.
you for sharing this talk time with me. See, I told you it was gonna be okay. I don't
You're so welcome.
know, you and Jessica was so nervous, but I knew you guys would be great. And I didn't even say anything to bring you guys to tears. And then y'all just, y'all came with the
Well, that's because I'm low key a crybaby. But I thank you so much for having me on.
tears.
Um, you know, when you're a social worker, a case manager, you work in social services, your heart is something different than others. You
That's
know, we are 24/7. I want to help.
that's true.
I want to advocate for.
It's true.
Um, so I'm so grateful that you thought of me. Um, just like I said in the beginning, I am where I am at my job. It's because of you. You know,
Oh.
you had my application pulled. So, but as the last thing that I do want to say, be intentional about, and this is to the audience, those who are watching, be intentional when you are empowering. There's nothing wrong with being intentional when you are empowered. The same way you need to be intentional in your relationships
Yeah.
with friends and family and spouses and stuff. Be intentional when you are empowering others. And
Yeah.
you don't have to go out there and empower on a large scale.
Mhm.
You can start small within your group, within
Yeah.
your friendships.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's all I want to say.
That's awesome. Well, she just gave the best testament ever to close out this series. So I'm not even gonna try to piggyback off of that. I appreciate all of you guys that have tuned in today. And as bittersweet as it is for me, this is our last full length episode for this particular series and for this year of 2020. So I'm happy that it has gone out with the bang. And I know that it is definitely received just the same. On next week, which is the 25th, our talk partner and one of our avid supporters will be recapping the entire series, this entire 2020 empowerment series. So I'm sure their commentary will be very interesting. And it's definitely going to be something that you guys want to tune into from the bottom of my heart, because you won't see me in this light again this year. I appreciate all of you guys for rocking with me this entire 2020. 2020 has been hard for everybody, but for everyone that has welcomed me into their homes on Sunday evenings, who has liked, shared, commented, did watch parties, been a part, supported it anyway. I appreciate you guys, and I encourage you to continue to keep talking about these show topics, because we're going to keep talking about them, and use these talk times as a moment to empower your peer groups, to talk about something more than what's on TV, or to talk about something more than what's on Facebook, or what's commenting, what you guys are commenting on Facebook, because these are real conversations that we
Yeah.
need to have. And as long as we continue to have them, then we'll continue to empower each other. So this
Yes.
is my last Sunday of signing off, of being live and present with you guys. You will still see me, but in a different light, as we begin our 30 days of gratitude campaign starting November 1st. But in doing so, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Bliss, thank you. I appreciate you. I love
Oh no. I love you too.
And we will continue to remain connected. And I will
Of
see you
course.
soon, girl.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.